The bell had just died away when Sam Porter pushed his cart down the empty corridor of Riverside High, the fluorescent lights humming like distant cicadas. He moved with a steady, quiet rhythm, sweeping, stacking, polishing, so practiced that the building felt easier to breathe afterwards. Students hurried past his doorframes without turning. A laugh from last period still lingered in one classroom, while someone's backpack sat abandoned by the lockers. Sam glanced at a faded photo taped beneath a poster of last year's production and smiled a small, private smile. No one called him anything but the janitor. Teachers nodded politely at the edge of busy schedules. Principals made small talk about budgets. He kept his head low. "Dignity needs no audience," he used to say. But at the back of his mind, a quiet ache lived. A wish that someone would see the hands that fixed broken chairs, the patience that swapped burned-out bulbs at midnight, the kindness that left a forgotten sweatshirt folded on a radiator. Wow, he thought sometimes, after a long night, how much goes unseen. Before we dive into the story, a small request from us. Please subscribe to our channel, like, and share. We've put a lot of effort and time into creating this just for you, and we hope you'll enjoy it. Please stay connected with us, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. On that ordinary Thursday, rain stitched the windows with silver, and Sam paused at the trophy case, wiping smudges from years of victories he had never attended. He felt a breath of something like belonging slip through his ribs and then vanish. He pushed on, humming a tune he'd learned from a child years ago, and kept moving, because that was what he did. Day after day, unseen but steady. Sometimes he would pause and whisper, "Wow, thank you," to the silent halls, softly and hopefully. Sam Porter's day usually began long before the sun rose and long after the world stopped paying attention. But lately, the school felt heavier on his shoulders. The hallways he once found comfort in seemed to echo with something colder, something tired. The students were changing, or maybe he was. He wasn't entirely sure. All he knew was that every morning he walked into Riverside High with a quiet determination, and every evening he left carrying a weight he couldn't quite name. One Monday morning, things shifted. A group of students hurried past him whispering about a rumor spreading across the school. Someone had vandalized the art room late at night. Paint was splattered across the walls, brushes snapped, and canvases shredded. The art teacher, Miss Reynolds, had tears in her eyes when Sam walked in to assess the damage. She whispered, "This room is my whole heart, Sam. I can't believe someone did this." Sam nodded gently, feeling her pain settle into him. He picked up a ruined canvas, its edges torn like broken wings, and let out a long, quiet sigh. He whispered under his breath, not out of humor, but disbelief. The laughter was the kind that comes when life pushes you too far, yet expects you to stand tall. "I'll fix what I can." But fixing meant hours of work, stretching into the evening while the halls emptied and lights flickered off one by one. The custodian team was understaffed, and the principal had already hinted that overtime wasn't in the budget. Still, Sam worked. He scraped dried paint from the floor, repaired the easels, sorted the brushes that could be saved, humming softly to steady himself when frustration threatened to spill over. The students didn't see him crouched on the floor until his knees ached. They didn't hear him mutter comforting words to the room, as if the walls themselves needed reassurance. He felt invisible, not just unseen, but unrecognized for the care he quietly poured into everything he touched. The following day, things grew worse. A video had begun circulating on social media, grainy footage from one of the school hall cameras. It looked like Sam was entering the art room after hours. In the clip, you could barely make out the vandalism already there, and no context was provided. Comments exploded online, accusing him of destroying the art room. Some students even snickered behind his back. Others pointed. Someone had written "Janitor Menace" on a locker with a marker. Sam discovered it while scrubbing the hallway's floors. He froze. His throat tightened, and he whispered a soft, "Oh no," under his breath. That hurt. He didn't expect praise, applause, or attention. He never did. But accusations? That was a wound he didn't know how to dress. He kept quiet, holding himself together in the way only long-suffering hearts can. But the ache grew. It was in the way the teachers spoke to him with hesitant politeness, in the way the students avoided his eyes, in the lingering suspicion that clung to him like dust on his sleeves. The principal called him in for a meeting. Sam sat across from the desk he had polished countless times. The principal cleared his throat. "Sam, there are concerns. I'm sure it's a misunderstanding, but until we sort it out, I have to restrict your access to certain rooms." Sam nodded, swallowing the sting. "Of course, I understand." Walking out of the office, he felt smaller than he had in years. The corridor seemed longer, the lights harsher. He paused by his cart, placed a hand over his chest, and whispered, "Wow, this is really happening." But he kept moving, even when the world felt unfair, even when his heart felt squeezed. He kept showing up. Because that was what Sam Porter did. He served quietly, hoping that someday, somehow, someone might see the truth behind the silence he lived in every day. The rest of the week unfolded with a strange tension hanging in the air, thick enough that Sam could feel it every time he stepped into a hallway. Students whispered as he passed, their voices dropping into sudden silence when he looked up. A few kids, who once offered shy nods, now stared at the floor. It was as if the rumor had become a shadow walking behind him. Still, Sam kept working. He swept the floors with slow, deliberate strokes, whispering little hums to steady himself. He wiped down windows until his reflection stared back at him with tired eyes. Yet beneath that exhaustion, a spark of quiet resilience flickered. He wasn't ready to give up, even if the world seemed eager to misunderstand him. One afternoon, while Sam gathered cleaning supplies in the storage room, he overheard two boys talking near the door. "Did you see that video?" one said. "I heard he trashed the art room because he hates the students." The other snickered. "Wow, that's messed up. I mean, why would a janitor even care?" Sam felt something in his chest tighten. Not anger, but sadness. It amazed him how easily people believe the worst. He stood still, breathing slowly, letting their words drift away. Then he stepped out, nodded politely, and continued his work. The boys went silent, guilt flickering briefly in their eyes. Later that day, Sam walked toward the cafeteria to finish mopping when he noticed someone sitting alone at a corner table. Liam, a quiet freshman who often stayed after school drawing in his sketchbook. His shoulders were slumped and his face was pale. Sam paused, concern tugging at him. "Hey there," Sam said gently. "Everything all right?" Liam looked up, startled. He hesitated. Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Is it true? About the art room?" His voice trembled, as if he already feared the answer. Sam smiled softly, a touch of sadness lingering behind it. No, son, I'd never hurt that room. Or anything loved by students. Liam let out a shaky sigh, relief washing over him. I knew it! He grinned faintly. You fixed my desk last month. You even taped a note saying, keep creating. Why would someone who wrote that ruin a place full of art? I'm glad someone remembers my notes. For the first time all week, he felt seen. As the days went on, small moments like that began unfolding. Ms. Reynolds, the art teacher, returned to her classroom and noticed the repaired easels, the cleaned brushes, the floor restored to near-perfect condition. She touched one of the tables and whispered, Sam did this. He didn't destroy anything. He fixed it. Another teacher, Mr. Collins, found Sam replacing a broken light bulb in the science lab and paused. You know, Sam, I've been thinking, that video doesn't tell the whole story. You've always cared about this place more than anyone. These quiet acknowledgments didn't erase the rumor, but they softened the edges of Sam's loneliness. The hallway didn't feel as sharp. The silence didn't sting as much. And deep inside, a small, hopeful feeling began to bloom, like a soft promise that the truth, no matter how slow, always finds its way to the surface.
Friday arrived with a pale sunrise stretching across the school courtyard, a quiet reminder that even heavy weeks eventually find their way to light. Sam walked through the doors of Riverside High, feeling a little more weary than usual, but still carrying his steady resolve. He pushed his cart down the hallway, humming softly, when he noticed something unusual near the main office. A small crowd had gathered. Students, teachers, and even a few parents stood silently around a bulletin board. Their expressions were puzzled, curious, and almost stunned. Sam approached slowly, unsure if he should step closer, but Miss Reynolds spotted him and waved him over urgently. Sam, you need to see this. He hesitated, then edged through the crowd. When the board came into view, he froze. Pinned to the center was a photograph, grainy but clear enough to recognize. It was the original security footage, but this time the full video had been posted, not just the clipped version someone had uploaded online. It showed Sam entering the art room, pausing in shock at the damage already done, and immediately bending down to start cleaning. The timestamp proved he wasn't the culprit. In fact, it proved he had been the one trying to save what could still be saved. A murmur rippled through the group. He didn't do it. Look, he was helping. Someone edited the video to blame him. Sam felt his throat tighten, but this time it wasn't from sadness. It was something lighter, something like relief drifting into his chest. Wow, he whispered under his breath, stunned by the shift in the atmosphere. Then Liam stepped forward, clutching his sketchbook to his chest. I found out who posted the edited clip, he admitted, his voice shaking but brave. It was some kids trying to get attention online. I told the principal, and I asked him to post the real video. You didn't deserve what happened. Sam blinked, warmth rising behind his eyes. Thank you, son, he whispered. The principal approached, looking genuinely remorseful. Sam, I owe you an apology. We all do. I should have known better. He extended his hand. You've always cared about this school. It's time we showed you the same respect. Teachers nodded. A few students lowered their heads, embarrassed. And then something unexpected happened. Applause began, soft at first, then spreading through the crowd. People clapped for him, for his patience, for his integrity, for the kindness they had overlooked for far too long. Sam felt something bloom inside him, like a long-locked door finally opening. The weight he had carried all week lifted, replaced by a deep, overwhelming sense of being seen, truly seen, for the first time.
The following week, Riverside High felt different. Not louder, not busier, but warmer in a way Sam hadn't felt in years. The same hallways he'd swept for more than a decade now carried smiles instead of suspicion. Students who once rushed past without a glance now stopped to greet him. Morning nods turned into genuine conversations. Even teachers lingered a little longer just to ask how he was doing. Sam walked through the building with his usual quiet stride, but something inside him had shifted. The heaviness he once carried had been replaced by a gentle, steady lightness. It felt almost strange at first, this new sense of belonging. He had never asked for attention. He had never expected recognition. But now that it was there, real, heartfelt, unforced, it filled the cracks that years of invisibility had left behind. One afternoon, Miss Reynolds surprised him by inviting him into the art room. Sunlight poured through the windows, touching the repaired tables and carefully arranged brushes he had spent nights restoring. The students gathered around him, their sketchbooks open. "We wanted to show you something," she said. They stepped aside to reveal a large canvas on an easel. At first, Sam didn't understand what he was looking at. Just warm colors blended, deep blues and golds swirling around a figure in the center. Then he stepped closer. It was him. Not in a literal photographic way, but in a symbolic one. The painting showed a man standing in a hallway full of light, pushing a janitor's cart that shimmered like it carried stories instead of supplies. Small details filled the piece: a repaired chair, a glowing light bulb, a folded sweater. Tiny moments of kindness he thought no one had noticed. Every stroke said, "You matter. You always have." Sam's breath caught. A soft sigh escaped him as he touched the bottom corner of the frame. This is beautiful. Wow." Liam looked up at him with a shy smile. "We wanted you to know this school wouldn't be the same without you." Sam blinked rapidly, overwhelmed. "Thank you. All of you. I never imagined—" But he didn't need to finish. They understood. As he stood there, surrounded by young artists, teachers, and the quiet hum of a room he had once cleaned alone, Sam realized something profound. Kindness doesn't fade, even when overlooked. It builds, it echoes, it returns. Sometimes when you least expect it, and always when you need it most. And in that moment, his heart whispered a truth he'd carry forever. Being unseen never meant he was unimportant. Sometimes it's the quiet souls who leave the brightest marks. As the final bell echoed through Riverside High, Sam walked the halls with a peaceful smile. The kind that settles deep in the heart when life finally reveals its softer truth. The painting the students made for him now hung proudly in the main hallway, a daily reminder of how one quiet act of care can ripple farther than anyone imagines. Every time he passed it, he felt a warm surge of gratitude, because the moment the school chose to see him was the moment everything changed. And just like Sam's story, there are countless people around us whose kindness goes unnoticed, whose efforts shape our days in ways we rarely acknowledge. If this story touched you, if it made you pause, reflect, or feel something real, then let's keep that warmth alive. Make sure to subscribe for more heartwarming stories that remind us of the goodness still alive in this world. Like this video if Sam's journey moved you, comment your favorite moment, and share it with someone who deserves a little light today. Because sometimes it's the smallest actions that echo the loudest in the heart.